Maybe a couple more minutes. Yeah, I think all media is ready to go, but no sign of the chief yet or anything. Right now, there's only media here. Okay.
Check, check.
Yeah.
You can hear me now? Check, 1, 2, 3. We're live in Fruitland. Okay. Where should I go, Logan?
We're ready when you guys are, if you want to cut in. Are you guys going live now too?
In a few minutes.
Okay, try not to scream over each
You're good. We look out for each other here.
Yeah, is he gonna start with a question or just a generic to us? Or whatever, just those. Okay.
Okay, we're just waiting for them to start the press conference. And once that starts, I'm going to mute my mic. And this is a press conference about little Michael Monkey Vaughn out of Fruitland, Idaho. And they've been looking through a house of Stacy and Sarah Wandra, walking distance from little Michael's house. I believe they're fixing to start.
Yeah, we expect them to file in here any minute now, John. It's been a very busy month for the Fruitland Police Department after really not a whole lot of information, at least shared publicly, since Michael Vaughn went missing July 27th of the last year. So it's been almost a year and a half, but this month they made an arrest and they completely excavated the backyard of a home. Beginning earlier this month, that arrest was made on the 11th. Those digging efforts began on the 12th, and we know they were on scene there for more than a week. We did drive by that area on our way here to Fruitland City Hall today, and it is completely back to normal there. No more police tape, no more crews on scene. The fence is back in place, and it really looks like their efforts there so far, Dawn, are done. No, we've heard this more than once from the family representatives and from the police department that there is no connection between the Vaughn family and the home where this search took place. We know the woman who lives in that home, Sarah Wandra, was taken into custody that Friday night and charged with failing to report a death, specifically naming Michael Vaughn in those reports. Now, there is no connection that we've been told of. Police say there's no connection. They don't know each other, but it is extremely close to the family's home, walking distance in a residential area, only a half a mile from where Michael Vaughn was last seen at his home that evening of July 27th. John?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to our media partners. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the continued coverage of the Michael Vaughn case. I also wanted to begin by just giving my sincere thanks to all the law enforcement agencies, local businesses, and members of the public who helped us over the course of the last year and a half of this intense investigation. More recently, during the last 3 weeks, we could not have completed the work necessary without the selfless help of others. The community support has been absolutely incredible. As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all hands on deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughn could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wandra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wandra's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughn were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wandra's residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed. Evidence suggests that there are the following individuals who are currently in custody are involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. This is Sarah Wandra, 35 years old. Sarah lives at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Sarah has firsthand knowledge and is involved in Michael's abduction. Sarah Wandra is currently being held at the Payette County Jail for failing to report a death to law enforcement. This is Sarah's husband, Stacy Wandra, 30 years old, a male. Stacy was also living at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Stacy's currently being held in the Washington County Jail on unrelated charges. Now, the next individuals I'm going to introduce you to, let's go at the bottom there. This is Brandon Shirtliff, 30 years old, of Kuna, Idaho. Brandon was living with Sarah and Stacy Wandra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe Brandon has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Brandon is currently believed to be in North Dakota. Adrian Lucien, 32-year-old male out of Toledo, Ohio. Adrian was staying with Sarah and Stacy Wandra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe that Adrian has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Adrian's currently believed to be in Toledo, but floats between Ohio and California. I strongly encourage Shirtliff and Lucien to contact the Fruitland Police Department detectives, as the window of time for talking and cooperation is coming to a close. This remains an active and ongoing investigation, with conversations taking place with the Payette County Prosecutor's Office about Michael's case and those individuals involved. We also believe that there are others associated with the Wandras, Shirtliff, and Lucien, who may have knowledge of Michael's abduction, and I would strongly encourage them to come forward and speak with my detectives. When we finally reach the conclusion of this investigation, and I can assure you that we will, all of those who have knowledge of Michael's disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued. There's a moment in time to do the right thing and bring your information forward and cooperate, and that moment in time is now. To date, the Fruitland Police Department has received over 1,500 tips and leads, and we received many new leads since this phase of the investigation has began. We continue to ask our community for support and patience as we continue to aggressively work this case. We also ask that the Vaughn family's privacy continue to be respected, and we'll continue to post updates as information can be shared. Tips can be sent to findmichael@fruitland.org, or to Crime Stoppers at 343cops.com, or the Fruitland Police Department at 208-452-3110. Tipsters can remain anonymous. So before I open it up for questions, I just want to make it clear that this is a very active and ongoing investigation. It's super important that we maintain the integrity of this investigation. So I'd ask you that you'd please tailor your questions accordingly. With that, I'll stand for a few questions. Alex?
So if Michael's remains are not found, will Sarah have to be released, or do you think that she will remain in jail once you locate the other people that you think are involved?
It is my belief that she will remain in custody. But again, we're in talks with the Payette County prosecutor, and those talks are ongoing as far as charging.
And you can't speak to any additional evidence that was found in the house, like you said, you can't.
I cannot. Again, I just don't want to jeopardize the integrity of this investigation. Leslie?
Stacy Wandra is listed as an inmate in Washington County Jail, but is not on the Idaho court records because it's currently with federal hold. Are there any other charges aside from hers that have been filed in relation to this?
Not that I'm aware of. Not at this point. Go ahead.
What was different about the tip you received in this case after, 1,500 tips over the last almost year and a half? What led to the arrest and the search? Can you share any more about what led you to that home?
I don't want to get into the details on that, but I can assure you that the tip that we received was credible. I also released that in an earlier statement that it came from one of the occupants of the home, which led to that. Yes.
I'm sure that you guys in your investigation are following social media pages, which a lot of us have looked at. And one of them indicates a trip out of state mean, without hampering the investigation, you guys are at least aware of that trip taken to get a dog?
We are currently aware of a lot. And so I would tell you that you just need to trust us and trust in this investigation. We're making tremendous progress. We're comfortable with where we're at. I appreciate that question.
So Sarah Wilbur didn't pass her mental evaluation for when they were in the hearing and things. Do you think this affects the investigation at all, considering that to be the case?
I do not at this point.
There have been mentions of a neighbor's yard. Has that been searched in any way or taken into consideration in this investigation?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we'll be deploying ground penetrating radar in the neighbor's yard tomorrow. So we haven't done that yet, but we will. That's on the agenda for tomorrow. So thank you.
Okay, aside from just living with the Wanderers, do we know what the relationship of the two men you named were? How are they connected with the Wanderers?
You know, this is ongoing. I'm not going to get into the semantics and dynamics of the relationship there. Alex?
A lot of neighbors spoke to us about a scooter that maybe you guys were looking for. Can you speak to anything about, like, you had found a scooter, if that was related, or if that's something that you were possibly looking for at the Winters residence at all?
You know, again, that's evidentiary in nature, and I'm not going to speak to that at this point. So.
You mentioned the other property that's going to be starting to be searched tomorrow. Are there warrants for any other properties besides that have been sought out?
You know, not at this point, but, you know, through the course of this investigation, I believe that there are other locations that we will definitely be searching. So there is no warrant for the search that we're going to do tomorrow. It's all consensual. So I appreciate that.
Was the warrant that was executed in CUNA in recent weeks related to Brandon Shirtliff?
We did not have a warrant for any home in CUNA.
But was there a search
So-
related to his home?
Yes, there was.
You said that you believe that one of them is in North Dakota. You haven't located him yet. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Do you mind spelling their last names for us? I'm sorry.
Sure, I can. You obviously have the Wanderer's last name, correct? Okay. Last of Shirtliff is Shurtliff. Last of Lucien is Lucienne. Okay, all right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to conclude this press conference. Karen, one more?
One more. If neither of these individuals do come forward with information, could they face any charges related to hampering an investigation or anything like that?
You know, I would tell you that, I'm not going to discuss our investigative strategies at this point. But it is my belief that charges are forthcoming.
Just one last question. I know you're very proud of your team. That's really done an amazing job so far. Can you talk more about that and about how they're doing?
You know,
It's got to be tough.
it is tough. You know, we've lived this case from the time that it began, and but I'm telling you, I've got a very strong, committed group of people here, and they come in here every day, and we're in this grind, and they are committed to finding Michael, and we're just not going to stop. Everybody should know that we are not going to stop until we uncover the truth in its entirety, I would say. So thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right then. So I guess we can see he was not found there. And I'm glad the woman mentioned the long cab ride because if you look back on my page, I may have taken some of them down or withheld them until after this is over. But I have mentioned the taxi ride. Oop, sorry about that. Anyway, I had said since the beginning of this phase of Michael Vaughn's case that, you know, I feel like that taxi service was a front for something else. I do find that long, extraordinarily long cab ride that the cab fare was for over $12,000. I find that suspect. You can refer these things back to other videos that I've already put out. And if I haven't, I did share them and I might have held them back some because I found out by watching his mother, Brandy, I believe that's her name. I haven't been wanting to share as much about this and update anything without it being the police authenticating it first or hearing it on the police, you know, like with this today, this update today first, because I don't want to be the one to release anything, you know, to these parents and it be undue worry, kind of like, was that day. I mean, he's not there. And yes, they may have found a smell of human or some kind of, sorry, or some kind of a decomposition of something. I mean, look who we're looking at. Look at these people. And if they would, you know, do that with Michael, you know, or have him there, there could have been another kid there. That could be something else. Like I had mentioned before, to me, she looked very pregnant um, in several of her ring camera footages that were catching her from far off. Now, listen, I understand that she is overweight now. Okay, this was back a while back before Michael, I think, even went missing. She literally looked pregnant, and I will share those because okay, now I noticed. I mean, I'm a woman first of all, and I have been pregnant 6 times, and I have 4 children that are living, and the last one was a tubal, so I couldn't. Anyway, that's a long story. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, and I have 6 grandchildren. I notice if somebody is pregnant, I notice that right away. And it is a different look than just being overweight. And it's also the way you carry your weight. But in these particular videos, you can watch and you can look at her belly. I'm going to try to go back and see if I've already got them. If not, I will try to come back and then post a couple of those on there. And you tell me what you think because I'm going to tell you she looked pregnant. Now, who knows? Something could have happened to a baby. They may have had a baby at home or something like that. And she may have buried that baby in the backyard, or they may have done something with it. I mean, who knows? These people are not in their right mind. So I'm going to still hope and pray for little Michael Vaughn that possibly he is alive somewhere and possibly they may find him. Like, I really am going to continue hope and continue to pray for that. And I'm glad that they did not find him in that backyard. Because to me, even though that dog may hit on a scent of something, it does not have to be necessarily that little boy. Now, they may have found evidence that they're into some kind of a trafficking or something like that, because I personally feel that these front businesses of taxis and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a front for something else. I really do. I think that there are some ties to other people that are possibly, you know, pedos, and they may have removed some when they went into the house, got a warrant into the house. Maybe they searched the house and maybe they found some things in there. Maybe they saw where I personally think I saw a picture that I think might have been taken at their house because the kitchen floor looks so similar. But see, there looks like there's another child sitting behind him. So I don't know if that's a picture of him at home. But the weird thing is, if I can remember correctly, I need to go back and find that picture because I know which one it is. It's the one that is posted on Stacy Wander's Facebook page, but it does not look like a picture he downloaded. It looks like a picture he may have taken himself, because if you go back and look at Sarah Wandra's TikTok videos, look through them with the cats where she's feeding the cats, and you can look at what her kitchen floor linoleum looks like. And then when you look at the picture of Michael, he's sitting on the floor and it looks like linoleum on the floor behind him, and it looks so similar to the same linoleum. And there was a child, and I have put a video of that up here. There was, I don't know how old this person is. They look young. And they came up to the Ring doorbell there, and they said, "Hey, Stacy," or something like that. And then they went back and said, "Is it a bug?" And then they just seemed very immature. So even though, we don't know how old that person is, but they look very young to me. So, but to me also, if you look in the background, it looks like Stacy Wonder walking by in the background, which is strange to me. And then it's like the little girl goes around the corner and says something, and you can kind of hear it. But it was just kind of weird. I don't know. Supposedly they were playing hide and seek or what the heck, you know. Um, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. And this scooter that they're talking about, this red scooter. Now, listen, I agree. I'm not going to talk about any more of even my theories other than what I'm saying, because I think they have alluded to what I'm saying on their own, what they said, the police answering questions. But yeah, I think that I do believe that the person that's in the house that they're talking about that finally came forward or whatever or told, I do believe it was possibly Sarah Wandra, and I'll tell you why I think that. Because I personally think that because she divorced her husband in October. Now, it could be revenge against him, and like I said, if they didn't find Michael in the backyard, she could be lying on him just to try to throw off the scent of something else. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, let's say this woman, I'm just being real about this. Let's just say this woman is a little bit off her noodle, which personally I think she is. And she lost a baby. I believe she was pregnant in those videos. And it affected her deeply. I mean, very deeply. And maybe, like I've mentioned, she could have been possibly even, going and sitting at the park over there by where Michael's house was. And, he just happened to maybe walk up there or something alone, that he maybe knew where the park was or the splash pad they've talked about, whatever. He might have gotten that far. And, if she was in like a very raw state of mind, or you know, just almost like the way she was like, not in a normal way, uh, you know, like her belief system. Like she never talked about being a Christian. She never talked about faith really that much for very long before Michael went missing. It was shortly before. She was talking about it a little bit before he went missing. But that's where I believe she might have lost that baby. If she was indeed pregnant. I'm saying allegedly because to me, I'm just saying with my own eyes, what I saw, it looks like a pregnant woman. I mean, like far along, like 8 to 9 months pregnant. And I understand the woman is overweight, and it's not an overweight. You can go back and look at the videos yourself. She's gained weight, a lot of weight since then. And actually, Stacy Wonder has gained weight if you go back and look at his pictures. So I know that stress can cause you to eat and be depressed, which I do believe that she was extremely depressed to the point of delusion. Now, I think that could have happened from her losing a child. And I think that possibly if Michael walked up where she was alone, she might have in her head, in a sick way, felt like, oh, well, you know, somebody, look at this beautiful child here. And, you know, this is not true by any means because the little child slipped out and things happen like that. That is life. Unfortunately, most people will return a child or find out where they live. Hopefully. They used to do that. But in this case, what if she felt like, you know, okay, because she had these grand illusions about the Lord and all these kind of things in an unhealthy way. I mean, listen, I love the Lord and I'm a Christian and I am a follower of Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiach. Here's the situation. And to some people, it may look like, I guess I could be crazy maybe because of my faith. But she's on a different level, like a dangerous psychopathy level type of situation when people start like hallucinating and idealizing things and like it's almost like a state of psychosis. Listen, I have had school for psychology. I've not finished. I've not gotten my degree, but I've been to school for it. So, my thing is this: I do see like she seemed like with all these TikTok videos and all these other videos that are so hyper religious. And I'm going to say religious is because it's a ritual, like she was doing it. It was very religious. And it's almost like she was either trying to do one or two things, trying to hide behind a Bible, you know, to say that she was this way when she's really something else. Okay, so she's just using religion to try to make people think she's a good person and that she would never do something like that. Okay, because listen, there are a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. Just because somebody can say bad don't mean they're really a sheep. And also, I'm not talking about a sheep like a woke. I meant like a sleep, you know, like a blind sheep, except the to our Savior. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we will lead wherever our shepherd takes us, which is Jesus Christ. But I'm saying that what she she had gone way above normal faith, is what I'm trying to say, and not in a good way. It was in a dangerous way, like in a Jim Jones kind of way, or a David Koresh kind of way, or that kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like just on a dangerous side. There is certainly a difference in having faith and being to the point of being dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Okay, like here's a good example. I am very pro-life. Very pro-life. As I hope anybody would be that's sitting here hoping for this child to be found alive, hoping he's not dead. Because see, that's the way I look at every child that's aborted, in the same way. Like, to me, they have just as much life and just as much right to live as this little boy right here did, even though, they may have been a lot smaller when they were taken. Their lives still mattered. And I'm going to say that I just cannot agree with anybody that kills children. I just can't do it for any reason. I'm talking no matter how big or how small they are. And there are no excuses for partial birth abortions, especially in late term abortions, because why would you have to kill the baby to deliver it when it has to be born anyway? I've had people who are friends of mine, several different ones, from a long time ago and from as recent, but that have, been carrying their baby up until right before delivery. Everything is fine. The baby is perfect. And all of a sudden, there is no detection of a fetal heartbeat. And they had to go through labor and deliver those children knowing that they would not be born alive. But they still had to go through the process of labor. Either way, even if it's a C-section or it's vaginally, you have to give birth to a baby that's in there. So the situation is, why would anybody need to have an abortion and have the baby born to the point of just the shoulders, where basically it has to be mostly still left inside the woman, and they cut the baby's head in the back, and let it bleed out and then deliver it, or they will open it with scissors and suction the brain out, crush the skull, and deliver the baby. And I don't mean even the first 3 months. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about up until the day of birth. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can't tell me that is not murder. Nobody can tell me that, because just because a baby passes through the birth canal or comes out of the belly in a C-section, in other words, a thin layer of skin and a sac, an embryonic sac that the baby's in, that does not determine whether something is a human being or not, or alive or not. It's just like if you're standing on one side of the wall and I'm standing on the other. Just because you're on one side of that wall does not mean that you're not a human being, just because I can't see you yet, because you haven't walked through the door. Nonetheless, you're still a human being on the other side of that wall. And that's how it is with the babies. I mean, just because they're in the mother does not mean that they're not humans. And you can't tell me that that's not murder when they are doing this to full-term babies and babies that could be born. For instance, I had preeclampsia with my last child. I had to be delivered very early, at 6 weeks early. Okay? Now, we did not have, that could have been what they would say in the past. That could have been a reason to have a late term birth, because the cure for my hypertension was birth, okay, was delivery. So here's the situation though, okay? What would it have saved my life anymore? Because I had to deliver my child either way. 6 weeks early, okay? And that is way, way before the age they'll allow you to have an abortion in a lot of states. New York being the first one, if I'm not mistaken. That's why I feel they're under so much judgment right now. But if you think about this, like my baby was 6 weeks born, 6 weeks before that people can decide to have a late term abortion, okay? And I had preeclampsia, okay? A reason that they would say would be a reason for late term abortion. They would give that as a reason, because it is true. The only cure for the mother and to save her life is delivery, and also the life of the baby. So they definitely will put you into premature labor, or they will put you on oxytocin, which they did me. And they also kept me on a magnesium drip to keep me from having a stroke because my blood pressure was so high, but I would have still had to do the same thing whether my child was born with or without a heartbeat. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So my body was going to have to go through this regardless. So how is it saving the mother's life by killing the child at that point? That is what I want somebody to answer me that stands up for abortion or murder of the unborn. That is my question I want to know. What makes it a human all of a sudden? Like what magically appears? Okay, I'll give you the heartbeat. Most people don't even realize they're pregnant by the time the heartbeat is beating. So, just saying, you got to think about these things and how hypocritical is it to be so, against all this child abduction and trafficking and all these children going missing, and people get so mad about that and so angry about that, and I'm angry about that for sure. But to me, it's the same thing as that's being hypocritical. I don't think that you can really honestly care that much about children that are here if you don't care about them before they're born. You know what I'm saying? And you really have to check yourself and look introspectively on that. And see. But I do think something set this woman off. I do think she's the one that told. I do think there are other people that may have been there that may have seen this situation happen or this kid being there. And like I said, how do we know this very long trip she took? She knew that they were coming to arrest her husband. She probably knew that they were going to come in her house. She could have taken that kid across the country and dropped him off with somebody. And they could have said that was a fair and put it on, because that was the only one I saw that was ever posted really. And it was just odd. And it was, around that time. And I just feel like that, they're trying to cover for something. They either went there and dropped him off dead or alive. I don't know. I pray alive, and she maybe is thinking, well, I'll just tell him that he's in the backyard, or whatever. And then they'll be looking for him there. And then, I don't know what she's thinking because she's insane, obviously, allegedly. But, so I'm just going to say that, let's just pray for him. Let's just pray that maybe she did put him somewhere or stash him with somebody that she knows and that he is not being harmed to the point that it would be horrible for him to be in a situation. Miracles happen every day. I have seen kids come home like JC Dugard and that other little girl, I can't remember her name. But, it was after a really long time. So it would be wonderful because they're definitely looking into this now. And I pray if anybody does have him that they would go ahead and turn him in instead of harming him. Don't do anything to him. Just let him go. Just let him go. He's little and he's probably been through enough trauma with this that he couldn't even remember anyway. So, just let him go somewhere. Bring him to a Walmart and drop him off or something. Do something like that because, or, even, I don't know. It's just, I know one thing. I know that there's a family in Fruitland, Idaho right now that can't sleep. And it's been a long time since they've been able to sleep. And they need answers one way or the other. So I hope that Sarah quits screwing around and tells the truth on where this child is. Because obviously she would have to know because her husband was put into custody long before she was arrested. So I feel like if he was moved, she would have had to have been the culprit to do it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And I will leave you guys with a God bless you, and I hope things are going well for you. I haven't been on much because literally it's been pretty chaotic around here for the last 3 weeks. So, yeah, keep me in your prayers, and if you need a prayer, drop it below, and I'll certainly keep you in my prayers too. Also, like and comment below. And even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, just leave a comment on like what you might think it could be, because like I am totally open to listen to other people's ideas, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to figure this thing out. I mean, hopefully the police figure it out, but maybe if enough people get together and can kind of piece something together, like obviously they asked that question that I did bring up a while back about that long trip. Somebody brought that up to the police actually. And so I was glad to see that, because, I was going to call into the tip line and even put that in the tip line, but I was like, surely the police have looked at that. If I can see that, surely they can see it. So I didn't. So I was glad to see that somebody called that in, or that they had at least addressed that was being aware of. So I'm thankful for that, because I don't want to call in there with a bunch of stupid leads that I'm just sitting here coming up with in my head that are not valid. I don't know if they're valid or not. I mean, I can come up with a theory, but that's not facts. And so I don't want to send the police on a wild goose chase, but I guess it is something I could have called and said, look, this is just something I think you should be aware of. Maybe I should have done that. But obviously they're aware of it, so that's the most important thing. All right. Well, anyway, I love you guys, and hit the like button if you can, so that this will get out. And also, like I said, leave a comment, even if it's one that you don't agree with this video. All right. Have a great day.